So that's number 9. So number 9 says, Gemilas chasadim, bein laniyim, bein lashirim. So it's interesting, it's the same word like we have on top of the page, but it's a different meaning. And in order to know the meaning, you always have to see in what context it's used. So literally, Gemilas chasadim does mean acts of kindness, but generally speaking, it means anything that you do which is an act of kindness to another person is called Gemilas chasadim. That's the list. And then sometimes we use it to mean a specific act of kindness, which is giving someone a loan without interest. Generally speaking, if you want to get a loan, you need money to invest in a business, to build your home, you're going through some difficult times financially, you need a loan. So the way to do it is you get a loan and then you pay interest. That's your credit cards, you pay interest. You go to the bank and you get a loan, you'll pay interest. According to Torah, we're not allowed to take a loan and take interest. You're not allowed to give a loan and get interest. And it's considered one of the 365 negative commandments. That's a Jew with a Jew. A Jew with a non-Jew is allowed to do business with interest. Then the question is, so what happens in Israel, where the banks owned by Jews, and the Jews doing business with the Jews? Or in America, if you have your money in an Israeli bank? Or same in other countries, there are Israeli banks in different countries. So the answer is, of course, this is a very broad subject in halacha, but just at least to get the general idea, you're not allowed to take interest, but you can do business with another person. And the business is based on, I'm a partner, 10% partner, you're a 90% partner, and I get a certain percentage from the business. So when we do business or we give money in a bank that's a Jewish bank, if you'll ask, you'll find that in the bank, there's a document, very often it's hanging on the wall, and it says that the system in this bank is that this is not an interest for a loan, but it's as if you're a partner in our business. So if you put $1,000 in the bank, and at the end of the month, you get $1,050, you're not getting interest, you're getting your part as a business partner. But you have to spell it out, and it has to be in a contract. So if it's a Jewish bank or it's a Jewish lender, you will always make that kind of a contract. So therefore, it is considered an act of kindness when someone needs money and they have an opportunity to get a loan, and you give them a loan without interest, because then they don't have that extra burden of having to pay the extra money for the interest. And I don't think I have to explain anybody here what is the problem with interest, because we all know what it means when you look at your bills and your credit card bills and how it grows and becomes bigger and bigger like a big monster. So it's a big favor to someone would say, I'll give you a loan, $10,000, you don't have to pay me interest, just pay me X amount of money every month and that'll be fine. However, lending other people money is a little bit risky. So of course, you have to use your common sense, lend it to someone that you can trust. And before you do that, you need to find out that this is a person that's trustworthy. Like someone told me, someone once came to him for a loan. So he asked him, so tell me, how do you pay back your loans? So he says, well, old loans, I don't pay back. I said, really? What about new loans? I make sure that they become old loans. So of course you can't do business with someone like that. So there is something in the Torah where Hashem says that I'm taking responsibility. I'm giving you the mitzvah to lend money to other people. If you do all the research and you see the person is trustworthy and everything is fine, I am sort of guaranteeing you that you'll get your money back. You're not going to lose it. Of course, if I'm careless, And if I'm irresponsible and I just give a loan to someone that I had nothing about their credibility, I know nothing about them, that's something silly. You have to do that kind of a research. So that's why it says in number 9, loans are both for the poor and the rich. Tzedakah is only for poor people. In fact, a person who's not poor and takes tzedakah, he's like stealing from the community. But a loan is for everybody. Even rich people at certain times need extra money to expand their business, to do whatever they need. In fact, all the businesses and the banks, everything, these are rich entities that they operate and they make their business by loans, giving loans and taking loans and mortgages and all that. So, Minas Chasadim is for both. Just regarding this story, this principle that Hashem said, I take responsibility. So there's an interesting story with Rabbi Yitzchak of Berditchev. It's a little bit similar to the story I told you yesterday, but a little bit in a different vein about a person who lived in his town, very wealthy, but not known as to be a charitable person. And therefore, people didn't really think very highly of him. And the day that he passed away, Rabbi Yitzchak Berditchev, he was like the Rebbe. He was a very big Rebbe, known in the whole world. He was a very big tzaddik. And he went to participate in the funeral. So naturally, if he went, everybody went. But they were wondering, why did he go if he was such a person that really he wasn't such a God-fearing Jew? Look what he did. He had money. He was able to help in so many causes and didn't. So Rabbi Yitzchak Berditchev, when they asked him, he said, he came to me 3 times for a judgment. I should set up a court. And he had a judgment with another person. If you'll hear the story of the 3 times, you know why I came. I don't know if I'll tell all 3, but I'll tell the first one, which relates to this subject. That he's a businessman. Someone came to him for a loan. And he said, okay, you want a loan. Who is the guarantor? Guarantor means someone who actually binds himself by a contract that if the person doesn't pay back their loan, I can go to the guarantor and he'll pay back the loan. It's a pretty responsible thing. So who's the guarantor? So this person made a joke and said, well, it says in the Torah that Hashem guarantees. He's my guarantor. So he said, okay, I trust him. Of course, he went into business, everything went wrong. And he didn't have the money, and he never paid back the money. And years went by that he didn't pay back his loan. It was thousands of dollars. And then things started to turn around, started to make a lot of money in his business. He always felt guilty about what happened. So one day he comes to his office and says, I have some good news for you. I owe you 10,000 rubles or dollars, whatever it was. I now, thank God I have the money and I want to pay you. This is years later. So he said, you don't have to worry about it. Your guarantor paid me already. I said, my guarantor? I don't remember having a guarantor. Yes, when we did the loan, you told me there's a guarantor. And he couldn't remember who's the person that guaranteed. So he says, it wasn't a person, it was Hashem. He starts laughing. Come on, I want to pay the money. He says, no, I was very serious. And since then, God helped me. I was very successful in my business. And he paid me back that loan. And he says, listen, I don't want to be a crook, a thief. I want to pay you back. He said, I can't take money twice. I already took it from Hashem. I'm not taking it from you. And they got into an argument. But it was a very different argument. He wants to give him money, and he doesn't want to take the money. So they came to him, maybe it's a Berditchev that he should be the one to give the ruling. And then there were 2 other stories similar to this. I'll give, remember the second story, I don't remember the third. The second story, oh yeah, I do remember the second story has nothing to do with this, but it's just a kind of a person. That he was a person who gave tzedakah in a hidden way, like we learned about yesterday. But he had a business, and in his town, there was a couple, husband and wife, that had no money, were really struggling. And every time the husband would tell his wife, give me a chance. I want to travel far away from here and try if I can make money somewhere else and come back. And maybe it'll work. She didn't agree. How am I going to live until you come back? I can't. You have to be here and just make it work. This is going on for a long time. One day he thought of an idea, which wasn't very honest. And he told his wife that this rich man hired him to work for him. And for this job, he has to go out of town to do business with other companies. But don't worry, he said he'll pay you every week. He'll give you the salary. So she agreed, and he went off. At the end of the week, she goes to the business to collect her husband's salary. And the manager who's giving out the checks says, your name is not on the list, I'm sorry. And she starts screaming, don't try to steal the money from me. My husband is working for the company and he went out of town. He says, lady, your husband is not on the list of the payroll. I don't know what you're talking about. Anyway, the voices get louder and louder until finally the boss himself comes out. And he says, what's going on? She starts crying. He says, my husband went out of town and he told me that you hired him to do business out of town. And now they don't want to pay me. How am I going to live? I don't have anything to my name. Said, don't worry. Yes, there was a mistake. Put her name down on the list. And she puts her name down on the list and she should get her salary every Friday. And that's where it went on for months. The husband, in the meantime, was out of town. And he did do very well in business. He made a lot of money, very successful. And now he's coming home. He knew that his wife was going to be super upset that he fooled her, but he's going to come back with so much money, she'll be fine. As he's slowly, cautiously approaching the house, he's expecting to see darkness and thunder and lightning. And he sees, well, there's new curtains. He sees it's bright in the house. His wife greets him with a smile. Okay, she's quiet. There's no what's the secret, and everything's nice and fine, and she's doing well. And as they're talking, she tells him that the first week they tried to fool me, not give me the salary, but then the next week the boss took care of it, and every week I got my salary on a weekly basis. And he's thinking, what? He paid her? I mean, obviously he figured out that this was a husband that was dishonest with his wife. And he fooled her, and he took it upon himself to give her the money. So quietly, he went to this person, came to him in the business, says, I don't know how to thank you. You really did so much for me. You helped my wife while I was away. You didn't have to do this. You prevented a big explosion between husband and wife, shalom bayis. So, but now I have the money and I want to pay it back. I made a calculation. I owe you so much, thousands of dollars. Excuse me, you don't owe me anything. I never made any contract with you. I never made any deals with you. It's my mitzvah. I gave this woman money. I have nothing to do with you. He says, come on, you paid me money for work that I never did for you. So would you please take the money from me? I want to give it back. I don't want to have stolen money in my possession. He says, that's your problem. I did what I did, and I don't want to take the money. So again, they're coming to the Rav with a similar argument. He wants to give him money, and he doesn't want to take the money. And the third story was a similar story. So he said, with someone like that, how could I not go out? In other words, here was a person that really was a very caring person, sensitive person, but he wanted to give his tzedakah in a hidden way. But the main thing was the first story that Hashem says, I will guarantee. And this is a mitzvah of giving tzedakah, not to a poor person, but to any person. A free loan is an act of kindness, is an act of it's not called tzedakah because you don't have to be poor to qualify for that. Any person could qualify for that. Then we go to number 10. There's another category of tzedakah, which is called pidyon shvuyim. In some ways, this is considered one of the most urgent kind of tzedakah. Pidyon shvuyim means freeing somebody from captivity, which means if a person was captured by pirates or kidnapped by thieves or was locked up in jail by a government that, is not, you can't trust them, and the person's life is in danger, it's a mitzvah to get money together and be able to redeem the person from captivity. So this is a separate category of tzedakah, and it's considered one of the most urgent. Like, for example, if people in the community are collecting money to build a shul, you can't change and use the money for something else. It's going for a shul. The one thing that you could do is, if someone is held captive and you need money to free him, you're allowed to take the money that was originally connected for a shul and use it to free this person. Because they would be subject to torture, to murder. We don't know what would happen to someone who's held captive. And if we want to know where did Hashem take people out of captivity, well, that's what Yitzis Mitzrayim is all about. He took us out of Egypt. Malbish Arunim means clothing the naked. In other words, one of the forms of tzedakah is helping people with clothing. It's actually a pasuk, it's a verse, where it says, if you see someone who has no clothing, you have a commandment to clothe them, to find something for them to put on. Where do we find that Hashem did something like that? What? Adam and Chava, right? Just 2 weeks ago in the parsha, that they realized that they ate from the tree and now they felt embarrassed of not being dressed. And it says that Hashem gave them clothing. So it's interesting, again, in most communities, in fact, I don't know if you're aware of it, in this building where we're sitting right now, in the basement, there's a organization that does this, that, for example, people want to wear something nice for an event, and they don't have the money to spend that kind of money. So people bring clothing, like you bring to the dorm, hefker. People bring clothing that hasn't been used hardly, in good condition, nice things. They bring it here, and people come and they either borrow it or buy it for very little money. And that's a way of helping people when it comes to clothing. Just another format of helping someone else. Number 12 on the list says Olam Cotton, small world. What does that have to do with the price of fish in China? How does that get on this page here? So the answer is, on top of the page, it says the world stands on 3 things: Torah, acts of kindness, and prayer. So when it says the world, it means the world at large. But there are many times when it says the world, it means both the world at large, but also means the world on a smaller scale, my personal world. And it's based on a pasuk. There's a verse, I think it's in Mishlei, in Proverbs of Pahelis, one of the writings of Shlomo HaMelech, where he uses the term a small world, a miniature world. The Gemara says every person, every individual is a small world. And therefore, when it says that the world needs 3 things for it to be stable, is the world at large, and every individual in their personal life needs to have time for Torah study, needs to have time for prayer, and needs to engage in acts of kindness. Like we said in the beginning, Torah study, that directs my intellect, my mind, my perspective to go in the right direction. So I get the right ideals and the right values from the Torah. Prayer, which touches us emotionally, is that to direct my emotions in the right direction. And acts of kindness is the practical part, to act in a way and interact with other people in a positive way, in a sensitive way. And when you do things like that, then your own personal little world will be a stable world. So I mentioned on that, when we did that page, I mentioned that on page number 5, I took out one of these things and put it on a separate page just because of its importance. And that is Achnasas Orchim. Achnasas Orchim means welcoming guests. In a lot of communities that are not Torah-based communities, if a guest comes to town, they'll stay in a hotel. It's not that common, oh, just come to my house, anybody, a guest is not where to be. In a Torah community, a Jewish community based on Torah, it's very common that people have guests sitting at their table or guests that are staying in their house, of course, temporarily. And that's the mitzvah that we inherited from Avraham Avinu. So we're going to learn about this next week in the Parsha, that Avraham Avinu's sort of main mitzvah was this mitzvah, Achnasas Orchim. And in fact, this is one of the reasons that are given for a chuppah. You know, at a wedding, it all starts over the chuppah, where there's a top and 4 poles. And there's a lot of commentary. What does this represent? Different reasons I'm sure you've heard over the years. So one of the reasons, one of the most known, is that this is supposed to represent the home that they're going to build. And just like Avraham Avinu had a tent that was open on four sides, on the north, on the south, on the west, and the east, indicating that everybody is welcome to come into my tent. Makes no difference if they're coming from the north, the south, the west, or the east. And you can interpret that two ways. One is geographically speaking, that's not such a big deal. Whichever direction you're coming from, you have a door to go straight into my tent. But perhaps more than that, figuratively speaking, people come from different backgrounds, from different perspectives, from different places, different cultures, and they're so different one from another. His tent was open for everybody, no discrimination, no judgment. He accepted everybody. In fact, the Medrash talks about how he had the Arabs coming to his tent, not necessarily only Jews, and he accepted everybody in his tent, whether they're coming from the north, south, east, or west. So when we build a home, we want the home to be built with the values of Avraham Avinu, and what stands out, welcoming guests. So that's indicated by having the chuppah, which this is the roof, and all four sides are open, meaning that guests are welcome. Of course, it doesn't mean that all your doors should be open. We only do that at night at Pesach, but otherwise we close your doors, close your windows. But it means, again, talking about this figuratively speaking, that I'm open to accept other people in my home. Now we're going to learn this next week in Parsha, so don't tell Mrs. Abramson that I told it to you before. But what happens in next week's Parsha is that Avraham Avinu, at the end of this week's Parsha, he performed the Mitzvah of Circumcision. After circumcision, he wasn't feeling well. 99-year-old man circumcised. So Hashem came to visit him. This is one of the places where we find Hashem is visiting the sick. But there was another problem. Avraham Avinu loved attending to guests. And because he was not well, it wouldn't be good for him to run around and attend to guests. What did Hashem do? He made it an extremely hot day. So hot that nobody was outside. And because nobody was outside, he had nobody to attend to. But Avraham Avinu, his passion to help people and to reach out and to accommodate people, there was such a fire burning that he couldn't contain it. He sat by the door of his tent, looking and searching, maybe someone's going to come by. So Hashem came to visit him. That's what it says in the Chumash and the Medrash. And Hashem saw that he's having so much pain. He's suffering from the fact that there's no guests. So he sent him 3 guests, which were actually 3 angels. And when he saw the angel, he said to Hashem, wait, I'm going to welcome the guests. So the Gemara says, what happened? Hashem is visiting him. And he says to Hashem, wait, I'm going to welcome the guests. Could you imagine something like that? A king comes to visit you. Let's say a chassid, he's in his house and the Rebbe comes to visit him. Say, just a second, I'll be back soon. I got to take care of something. Hashem is there. Where are you going? So the Gemara says, from this we learn that welcoming guests in your home is even greater than welcoming the Shekhinah, the divine presence in your home. And that's why Avraham Avinu did that. Even though some people say, wait a second, we know that from Avraham Avinu. Where did he know that from? How did he know to tell Hashem to wait and go welcome the guests? I don't remember the answer. Maybe somebody ever heard the answer to this question. But that's number 2. This is the phrase from Gemara. Gedola achnasas orchim, welcoming guests, is greater than receiving the Shekhinah. There's a cute story with a chassid that went to visit his Rebbe, but this was a new Rebbe. Apparently the previous Rebbe had passed away. This was his son. And this chassid was going to visit for the first time the new Rebbe. He never saw him before. So when he came to the town, it was the middle of the night. All the lights were off. And he didn't know where to go. One house had a light on. So he decided, I'll go to that house. He knocks on the door. And he says, I'm traveling. I just came. Is it possible maybe to be in your home here? He said, sure, come in. He came in, and he actually didn't just give him a bed to sleep in. He gave him some food to eat and soup to drink, and he took care of him like a guest, and he went to sleep. Next morning, he goes to the shul to meet his Rebbe, And as he's sitting in shul, he takes a look and he sees that the man whose house he spent last night and was taking care of him and gave him a bed and gave him food was actually the Rebbe himself. He felt so embarrassed that the Rebbe was attending to him, and that's something which he would never in his life ever do. He walked over to ask for forgiveness. He started to cry and beg for forgiveness. And the Rebbe said to him, I will only forgive you on one condition. If you're ready, before I even tell you what to do, what I'm going to tell you now, the condition, then I'll forgive you. Otherwise, no. So he said, I'm ready to do anything and everything to be forgiven. I feel horrible. So he said to him, okay, the condition is, whenever you come to this town, you have to stay in my house. And he said, I never have the opportunity to have guests. Nobody wants to come to me. Because he's the Rebbe, so he never has any guests. So therefore he said, if you agree to come to my house the next time you come to town, I'll forgive you. Because he had this desire to have this part of this mitzvah of welcoming guests. Again, what we have in the Chumash, it says that Avraham Avinu, you'll see it in the parsha next week, he planted something, and that something is called Eshel. And there are different opinions what it means. Some say it means a tree, and some say Eshel means an inn for guests, a special inn to welcoming guests. And the word Eshel is an acronym for 3 words. So look at number 3. Eshel is spelled with an aleph, a shin, and a lamed. In Hebrew, aleph stands for achila, which means eating. Shin stands for shtiyah, for drinking. And the lamed stands for lina, which means to sleep over. There's another version that stands for levia, which means to escort. When a person comes to you as a guest, it's appropriate that when they leave, you escort them, you see them off. You walk a little bit with them, you go outside of the house, you see them by the door. And that means this is a place. That's why, if you know, there's a hotel here in Crown Heights, next block on Kingston Avenue, and it's called Eshel. That's the name of it. That's why they gave the name, because in the Chumash, Avraham Avinu's hotel was called Eshel. And that hotel is on the name of a person who his Jewish name was Abraham. So they gave the place the name Eshel. Okay, we don't have enough time to go into detail, but I'll just introduce the next Mishnah. So we're going to go to the front of the page of the booklet where we have the Mishnah, and we're going to do Mishnah 6. And I told you we're going to skip Mishnahs because we're only focusing on those Mishnahs that have to do with character traits and interpersonal relationships. Mishnah 6. Yeshua ben Prachya, V'nitai Harbeli Kiblu Mehem. These 2 people, Yeshua, the son of Prachya, and Nitai, the Arbelite, that means he came from the city called Arbel, they received the tradition from Yeshua ben Prachya, which means these 2 people, they were the greatest authorities of Torah in their generation. And they said the following. They said 3 things. Obviously, they must have said more than 3 things, but this was something very known in their name. One is Aseh L'Charav. Every person should appoint for themselves a teacher. They should have someone that's personally their teacher, their guide, their mentor. The second thing is Knei L'cha Chaver. Every person should acquire a good friend. And the third thing is Evidon is Kala Adam L'Kavskos. You should always judge other people favorable, rather than judging them that is something wrong with what they did. Try to find a positive way to look at what happened and judge them in a favorable way. Each one of these 3 things needs to be studied and explained, which we will do in Mirza Hashem next week on Monday. Okay.